From Boston Brewery to Bavarian Brauhaus, today's bar rescue episode gives us one of the most dramatic menu transformations we've ever seen on the show, and I'm talking all about it coming up.
You're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Bar Rescue After Show here on AfterBuzz TV. I'm so excited to be here talking all about my favorite show on Paramount Network, that show being Bar Rescue, and what I think might be the season finale of this very long season of Bar Rescue. That's season 6, and this is episode 35. Is that right, Jayla? I'm going to call to my producer real quick because sometimes she's more on top of this stuff than I am, even though I should be. Episode 37. That's wild. And it's looking like, based on what I'm seeing online, this might be the last episode of the season. But of course, you can excitedly tune into Marriage Rescue, which is Jon Taffer's follow-up. Very excited about that show. But for now, we're talking about Bar Rescue. In this episode, we're in Palm Harbor, Florida, rescuing New England's ale house, and we get a pretty dramatic transformation that we'll be getting into later in the show. We won't only be talking about the rescue, we'll also be talking about some news and updates around the show and just some other Jon Taffer, news beyond just this episode. So very excited about it, and let me introduce myself. I should do that before I just start talking at you into your ears or on your YouTube. Guys, my name is Jeff Graham. I'm very excited to be here. I'm unfortunately not joined by Captain Keven Undergaro because he's off doing other scams, as he likes to say. Kevin, we miss you, but you're doing important stuff, and we're glad that you're hitting the pavement, doing what you need to do to keep this place going as it does. And I'm excited to be here as well. I do have my producer, J-Lo, in the booth, who you heard earlier. J-Lo has not seen the episode, but she is a very sharp mind, and I might call to her here or there. We will see. Okay, as I mentioned, we're covering not yet. We're covering New England's Ale House in Palm Harbor, Florida. Primarily, we're focused on two major personalities, Tara Cook. I would think it would be Tara Cook, though Doug, who's the other personality we're focusing on, mostly said Tara throughout this episode. So because the producers said Tara, I'm going to say Tara, but Doug said Tara. You tell me. I'm not sure what the name is. If any of you guys are watching, you can let me know down in the comments. But we are $1 million in debt in New England's Ale House, which interestingly didn't seem to have much of an identity right from the start. I would have presumed that this kind of New England restaurant would be a pretty seafood-focused establishment, but it's not. I feel like I didn't get a strong sense of what the restaurant was, which probably owed to the fact that this restaurant was $1 million in debt. Tara is especially struggling because she used to co-own this, and still does co-own this restaurant with her now divorced husband, who she no longer speaks to, and she has 2 children herself. So she is essentially a single mom trying to run this whole joint. And this is one of those interesting Bar Rescue episodes where more than a bar, this really is more of a restaurant. We have the cook, Mo, who I really got to enjoy throughout the episode, and her, she's joined by Sunshine, who I also really appreciated. And, it was fun. It was fun to see more of the cook this episode. We got some great help from our master chef, bringing sort of a German influence, which eventually led to later in the episode. So it was great to see him. And, of course, we also saw Mia Mastriani in the cocktail section as well behind the bar. So let's go ahead and get into it. For Recon, I really appreciated that. It was Michael Ferraro, of course. I don't know if I said Michael's name, but that's who was back there in the kitchen, which was fun to see. He brought some really nice recipes, I think, to the kitchen. One of the things I really appreciated about this episode was Tara, who is actually the owner of the bar, joined Jon in the car for Recon. This is something we see occasionally, but not often. And I really appreciated this kind of perspective and flip on its head decision that the producers made here. It gave us an interesting sort of behind the scenes look of what was happening in the restaurant. For Recon, we not only have Tara back in the car with Jon, but we have 3 Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Bo Allen, Cameron Brate, and Allie Marpet, eating all of the food. If you're going to bring in hungry customers, probably smart to bring in professional athletes. I really enjoyed this decision that they made. The primary issue that we discovered during Recon was bad teamwork, which is classic, poor managerial tactics from Doug, which is also classic, but huge cross-contamination issues here, which was hard to watch. We saw towels being recycled. We saw raw food touch another raw food, and it was rough. Jon was not happy about this at all, so much so that, of course, we had the classic storm in, the classic barge, and we got some choice words from Jon Taffer. And I'm going to let you know about those choice words in just a minute, because, man, were they aggressive. But I have some choice words for you, too. I'm not the only one with strong opinions, because not only do I, but our network, AfterBuzz TV, has plenty of strong opinions themselves, because we are the ESPN of TV talk, guys. We thank you so much for tuning into AfterBuzz TV right now. It means the world to have you tuned in with us. And as I mentioned, we're the ESPN of TV talk. Guys, AfterBuzz TV covers pretty much everything on television, from reality TV to dramas to sci-fi and more, to soap operas to, anything. I can't believe the number of shows that we cover here at the network. And that's because we are just as obsessed with TV as you are. And this isn't the only TV podcast we do. I, for example, also host our Bachelorette After Show that you can tune into tonight at 7 p.m. live on YouTube if you're interested, or subscribe to our podcast. We're TV fans here, and we love you just as much as we love TV. And we hope you love us as well. And if you do, one way that you could really help us is to hop on iTunes and give us a 5-star review. We do everything we can to bring this content to you for free, from a missional mindset and kind of from TV fan to TV fan. And when you guys rate our podcast 5 stars, what you're doing is upvoting our podcast as it gets searched for on iTunes, which is a really great way that you can help keep the lights on here and keep the content coming. It does more than you realize, and we are checking iTunes to see who's making those reviews. And if we see a review on the Bar Rescue podcast, we will read your review on air. So please do it, guys. 5 stars really helps us out, and we'll read your review on air if you do. So as I mentioned, Jon Taffer storms in, and it is ugly. Woo! Things got wild. Jon was not holding back. He was yelling at Doug, telling him that he's a crappy manager, that he's an abusive guy who yells too much and belittles his staff. Now, J-Lo, I'm going to throw to you right now. Why do you think I might have taken issue a little bit with Jon Taffer getting so angry for someone being verbally abusive and belittling the people around him?
Jeff, I just think that I think you're very, very nice.
Mm-hmm.
So I think someone like Jon Taffer coming in and screaming and yelling at you and telling you you're this and that, I don't know. It's just, you don't want that kind of energy from the start, especially when you're meeting someone for the first time, even though they are the person that is going to help you and, help this bar, restaurant. But you don't really want that because you already know that you're millions of dollars in debt.
Right.
You already know this bar might close in months. And then you have someone coming telling you you're a piece of crap. And
J-Lo, the reason I ask it is because, of all people, does it really make sense for Jon Taffer to be the one who says that you belittle people and can tend to be emotionally abusive?
See, that's exactly what I'm saying. I don't think he's the right person. But, I mean, at the end of the day, he is the one that really helps these people straighten out. And sometimes people need that, even if it's, it's contradicting to what you're saying.
It just made me laugh a little bit. I was like, well, that's the pot calling the kettle black if I've ever seen it. But it's all good. Jon Taffer, he always comes in with a ragey tirade. And once again, this is the new twist that we've been seeing a lot of. He forces them to very embarrassingly apologize to the people he's talking with. And he does. He apologizes to his staff. And it preps us for the next day when we're going to start to really get in here and get some training done. As I mentioned, we bring in Mia and Michael for drinks and food. And I, for the most part, liked the drinks that were pitched here. The first is a peach mojito. It looked good. It looked kind of complicated. And I don't really understand how it played into the theme of the New England Ale House because there wasn't really a theme. Equally kind of ambiguous was this chicken strudel that they make with the sauerkraut. All of this looked good, but it didn't necessarily look relevant to what the bar was trying to be at that point in time. But Mia and Michael are great, and it was great to see them work together. And this brings us into our stress test. This was a very classic stress test, though I did like the continuation of the football theme. The sort of kitschy twist here that we had was the penalty flags, where if tables aren't getting their food within 15 minutes, they have the right to throw a penalty flag onto the pool table. The thing that was most interesting about this stress test was the fact that the chicken strudel kept coming out consistently undercooked. They were often seeing raw chicken getting served to tables, which was pretty gross to see. And when they cut inside and measured the temperature of this chicken, we were seeing that it was about 135 degrees Fahrenheit, whereas chicken needs to be sitting at least 165 when it comes out of a fryer. So, this looked gross. A lot of raw chicken, a lot of poorly made drinks, a lot of angry customers, and a lot of Jon Taffer yelling for these people to get their SHIT together. Of course, they couldn't. Penalty flags were thrown, words were exchanged, and Tara did, in fact, have to shut down the bar. So that's what she did, which brought us into our second training when I did like what we were being pitched here. This was an example of how to more accurately on brand set our team up for success. Mia presented a nice stout cocktail, which really was just a stout beer served with some bitters. But what I like was she really played to the fact that a stout has a rising foam. And Mia's kind of all about the simple but practical showmanship of great mixology. And she really leaned into that with this stout cocktail and the rising foam. This was kind of cool, and I liked it. Michael brought a delicious-looking German-inspired burger on a pretzel bun. Let me just pitch this to you, J-Lo. How good does this sound? Lightly toasted pretzel bun with a perfectly prepared ground beef patty topped with beer cheese and a little bit of German seasoning and chives. What do you think about that burger?
I think that I'm all for it. I think we need to get this rolling here at our studios as well.
Maybe we can make some tonight, J-Lo. We'll see what happens.
Okay, I'm ready for it.
But I loved this. Was German-inspired and great, and a great example of how the show can lean into a theme in a way that really behooves the customers and the staff. I loved it. So this leads to our heart-to-heart, and I really appreciated Jon talking with Tara and Doug, and interestingly, what he did here was he kicked Tara and Doug out and really allowed his staff to spill the tea. And guess what? Everyone hated Doug. As Jon mentioned, 70% of people wanted nothing to do with Doug, and less than 50, but around 50% wanted nothing to do with Tara. And this leads to my Taffer takeaway for the week, which is our special segment. I think that it's really important as a manager, you have to lay down the law, but you also have to be, if not liked, respected by the people you manage. If you don't have respect or admiration by the people you manage, they're not going to do a good job. You have to lay down the law, and you have to be authoritative, but you also have to be respected and admired. Because if you're a Machiavellian manager and no one even likes you, even if they fear you, they won't do a good job. So the classic question, better to be feared or loved? I think the best managers probably have a little bit of both, and that's what Doug and Tara needed to discover. So Jon pushes them to do that. In their heart-to-heart, he really allows Tara to open up, and both Tara and Doug acknowledge that Jon's done a really good job of transforming their attitudes and their staff. So exciting stuff, and this leads to our renovation. And for our renovation, we have a really, really pretty strong German theming component. And the bar is called Das Brauhaus, and it's a kind of beer-based bar with wursts and wieners and schnitzels. And it looks so good. They did such a good job with this renovation. It's kind of a classic German bar. I like that it was a no-frills approach to German theming, because they knew that the idea was to lean into beer and food. But here's what was great. They received a new machine that allowed them to brand their logo into the foam of the beer foam. Gosh, this was cool. This is one of my favorite machine implementations I've seen in a renovation. I just thought this was dope. I wish Captain Kev were here because I know he'd have some thoughts, but for our next episode, I will let him share his thoughts on this renovation. So things look great, and the renovation goes well. People are happy. The food looks great, and both the bar and the food are doing their job. So we see in the menu, in the credits, that liquor sales are up by 39% after opening the bar, and Doug isn't hated by his staff. So things are looking good, but unfortunately, things didn't really stay good. And that leads us into our news and bar rescue updates.
AfterBuzz TV News.
Well, I'm actually going to start this bar rescue update by letting you see a video that Tara herself posted on May 19th, just a couple of weeks ago. J-Lo, bump that video for us.
Hey everyone, happy Monday from Das Brauhaus and Cafe, formerly New England's Ale House Grill. I'm Tara Cook, and I am the owner
What is
of
Tara?
Das Brauhaus. I'm doing this video today because I want to share with you some very personal information and a decision that I've made that I'm happy about, because change needs to occur. So as you see, we've gone through some changes and I've loved every minute of it. I want to thank everybody for almost 6 years now of support in the community. It's been really great. I love this community. I love what I do. But I'm going through a divorce.
Yeah.
And divorce is hard.
Yeah.
I am a single mom of 2 young kids, and I don't have family in the area, and my kids need me. And over the last few months, this has grown to be right at the forefront, that my children need me. And I'm only one person, and I can't do everything. I can't be here and cooking and bartending and serving.
I appreciate her honesty
doing
here.
maintenance, and I have a great staff, but there's just a balance, and there's a lot to do as a business owner. A lot of close friends that know me, they're like, "You're Superwoman, how do you do it all?" I try to balance every day, and I'm tired. So I've made a decision, and I'm hoping that you'll all come down, support, and celebrate this next week. I let the staff know I'm not one of those places that's going to close and put a sign on the door, and I know everybody's going to make their own assumptions, and there's probably going to be some niceties and some nasties. I don't want to rehash it. I just want to come in and celebrate. So come celebrate with me this week. Our last day will be Mother's Day. It's also my son's 4th birthday.
Okay, that's good for now.
But this coming Sunday will be the last day of
J-Lo, thank you
Diaspora.
for bumping that clip. Very interesting to see. I mean, I appreciate her candidness, but it's kind of disappointing, you know? So this episode of Bar Rescue, as we saw in the episode, taped in March of 2019, and really they gave it, 2.5 months, and now they're closing? Especially to close a week or 2 before the episode airs. I have to respect Tara's decision here, but I also have to say it's a bummer to see that the bar is closing. I see that we have some live viewers. Jayla, we don't have any activity in the chat, do we? Because I'd be very interested to hear the viewers' thoughts on this. It was a pretty surprising decision. Looks like we do have someone in the chat. Jayla, what are their thoughts here?
Maddie Meredith says, I didn't see this episode.
Okay.
Nothing
super contributive.
no.
That's okay, Maddie. We appreciate you tuning in. And just so you guys know, you can tune in every week if you want on Bar Rescue. We go live typically at 2 p.m. We were a little late today, more like at 3 p.m. Pacific. But we're live on the AfterBuzz TV reality channel. But the reason I bring all this up is because I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on this. You know, it's a little complicated. It's like on one hand, it's totally her right to close the restaurant. She is a single mom. She is busy. But after such a beautiful renovation and positive reviews that I'd be happy to read, you know, people saying this is a really cool place with a German menu, a sufficient beer selection, and awesome food. The food is awesome, and I like it to have a limited amount of great food than a wide selection of mediocre items. They really had this beautiful transformation, tons of positive reviews, and she's just closing it down after all the work that Taffer put in. And I don't know. This is a tough one for me because to close it down before the episode airs and you get all that free promo just feels like a missed opportunity. At least sell the bar, keep the theming, and stay involved. I don't know. Hop in, J-Lo.
Maddie actually said John does this all the time, but he does get the job done.
Yeah. So Maddie said John does this all the time, but yeah, she's probably talking about his rage. He does get the job done, and he did get the John done here. And, you know, the John. See what I did there? I don't know. I'm bummed to see the bar closing because that means of the last 5 episodes, 80% of them are closures, which just doesn't look great. It's not a great look. I don't know. It's disappointing, but I don't know. It is what it is, and I love the renovation regardless, and I'd love to hear what you guys think and the thoughts, so please comment below. And, you know, the good news is I do think we have more Bar Rescue coming up, and of course, the last piece of news we have is that Marriage Rescue aired last night. I candidly did not get a chance to watch the episode, but you know what? Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to assure you guys that we will be covering that show at AfterBuzz TV at least once. Because this Wednesday on my TV pilot review show, we're going to review the pilot to Marriage Rescue, which aired last night, and you can tune in. That'll be Wednesday at 5 p.m. Pacific on our sister channel, AfterBuzz TV, the Originals channel. So you can check out our TV pilot review channel, where I and some co-panelists will be giving you our candid thoughts on Marriage Rescue. And then, you know, if people are really gearing for an after show on our coverage, we will make it happen. So we won't have Marriage Rescue coverage until Wednesday, but you can definitely catch our coverage at 5 p.m. right there on AfterBuzz TV. And be curious to hear what your thoughts on Marriage Rescue were in the comments below. Until then, guys, we're going to get out of here. No predictions because there was no episode for next week, but you can tune in to our Marriage Rescue coverage at 5 p.m., as I mentioned, on Wednesday. In the meantime, guys, my name is Jeff Graham. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you want to continue the conversation with me, I'd love it. You can catch me on Twitter at Jeffrey C. Graham, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. I also cover The Bachelorette, as I mentioned, and our TV pilot review show, so catch me there as well. J-Lo, what are you doing here at the network? Staying busy. You're doing a lot of producing.
A lot of producing. I'm going to be able to be hosting shows pretty soon.
Great. Any shows that you're particularly loving that you're producing this season?
Ooh, I'm going to be producing Fear of the Walking Dead tonight.
Nice.
So very exciting. So you guys can definitely tune in tonight at 8 p.m. Pacific.
Great. I know we have a voracious Fear the Walking Dead audience, so I appreciate you letting us know, J-Lo. And where can they find you on Twitter if they want to connect?
You guys can find me at Jen_Lopez89.
Awesome. Well, guys, that's all we've got for this week, but I so appreciate you tuning in. And, of course, we'll catch you, if it's not for Bar Rescue, somewhere else on the network here on AfterBuzz TV.
Our founder, Keven Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.